Alright, just leave already. Our family is made up of doctors. Having a relative in a wheelchair who didn't graduate high school is a disgrace. If you resist, the engagement is off. At my brother's wedding, the bride's parents directed this outrageous accusation at me, who was in a wheelchair. Why should being in a wheelchair or not finishing high school have caused me be treated like trash? I just wanted my brother to be happy. What should I do? Let's go home. At that moment, it was my brother Alex who stood up to our future in-laws, though he was the groom. Let's go home together. I'm not marrying into such an unreasonable family. His resolute stance left me stunned. My name is Sarah. I was just a typical 27-year-old who loves going out for trendy desserts and following my favorite celebrities. But one thing clearly set me apart was that I was in a wheelchair. When I was in 8th grade, I was in a car accident and had part of my left leg amputated, leading to my life in a wheelchair. The driver at that time was my father, and he passed away. The sorrow of losing my father and the shock of losing part of my leg kept me from leaving the house for a while. I rarely went to school, but thanks to my friends and teachers, I managed to graduate middle school. Given the circumstances, I couldn't even think about taking high school entrance exams, and my mother didn't force me. Without any thought for the future, I focused on rehabilitation, and which turned out to be the right decision. Thanks to wonderful doctors and physical therapists, I gradually regained my brightness and hope for life. Of course, the support of my family was significant. Since then, my wheelchair has been my precious partner. Although there were inconveniences, I never felt ashamed of this life. I had an older brother who was 3 years my senior, and he recently got engaged. My brother was truly kind and warm-hearted, and he cried more than I did when I ended up in a wheelchair, staying by my side and encouraging me. With our mother also devastated by the loss of our father, my brother's presence was crucial. Thanks to him, my mother and I have been able to live positively without despairing about life. His engagement was the happiest news for our family this year. The day his fiancée came to our house. After greeting my mom, my brother brought her to my room. Can we come in? Sure. This is Emily, who I'm going to marry. Emily, this is my sister, Sarah. My brother showed me the woman who would be my sister-in-law, and introduced his future wife with a bit of embarrassment. Nice to meet you, I'm Sarah, his sister. I'm Emily, nice to meet you too. She greeted me cheerfully, her face clearly beautiful and striking. Wow, you really have a thing for pretty faces, don't you? She's gorgeous. That night, my brother laughed sheepishly when I teased him like that. I didn't choose her for her looks, but I can't deny I was thrilled when someone that cute approached me. You're so honest. Congratulations, Alex. Thanks. Preparations for the wedding continued smoothly, and I was looking forward to my brother's wedding day, not knowing what unexpected events awaited. On the wedding day, because it was a small chapel, only immediate family members attended the ceremony, and a grand reception followed to celebrate with relatives and friends. My mother and I were the first to enter the chapel. After I moved from my wheelchair to a seat, the staff folded the wheelchair and placed it out of the way. The arrangement, with decorations and flowers hiding the wheelchair, impressed me. I felt relieved knowing it wouldn't obstruct the wedding photographer. The bride in her wedding dress looked beautiful, and my brother appeared much more dignified than usual. The ceremony concluded smoothly, and as the newlyweds exited, the staff quickly retrieved my wheelchair. They set it up next to me, and I thanked them as I sat down. At that moment, I heard a surprised, "What?" and noticed someone staring at me. The bride's parents were walking briskly toward me. Oh, it was a wonderful ceremony, wasn't it? Ignoring my mother who stood up to greet them, they stared intently at me. Are you Alex's sister? What's with this wheelchair? Huh? I was baffled since I couldn't understand the question. This is my wheelchair, but, what do you mean? Why are you in a wheelchair? Did you carelessly break a bone, right before your own brother's wedding? The bride's father was inexplicably furious. It's not a recent injury. I was in an accident in middle school and have been in a wheelchair ever since. What? His reaction was so extreme that it startled me. My mother looked bewildered as well. Maybe Emily hadn't told them. My brother should have told them, but perhaps they were shocked to see a person in a wheelchair in real life. Thank goodness the ceremony was family only. Yes, really. If the guests had found out, it would have been terrible. Is something the matter? When I timidly asked the whispering Emily's parents, the father glared at me. You just don't attend the reception. What? Why? I was at a loss for words, suddenly hit with such a ridiculous statement. Why? You should be the one to refrain. How could you brazenly come to the ceremony? Guests will be arriving soon. It's embarrassing to have you in that wheelchair, so just leave already. Emily's mother nodded as if this was the most natural thing in the world. My mother and I were completely baffled. What? Just then, Alex and Emily, who had been changing in the waiting room for the reception, appeared. Is something wrong? Oh. Alex. Dad, Mom, what's going on? The staff said there was a problem. Just look at his sister. At her mother's words, Emily looked at me and her eyes widened in surprise. Like mother, like daughter, they looked exactly alike in that moment. What? Wait, is your sister in a wheelchair? Emily asked my brother suspiciously. Yes, I told you that. My brother remained calm as ever. You mentioned an accident, but you never said she was in a wheelchair. I did. And when you came to the house, you met her. But she wasn't in a wheelchair. She was sitting on a regular chair. Well, she rarely used the wheelchair inside the house. It's been over 10 years, and she can move smoothly indoors. It seemed Emily and her parents had no idea I used a wheelchair. This is outrageous. You deceived us. Emily's mother yelled. Deceived? What do you mean? You hid the fact that your sister is in a wheelchair, didn't you? I didn't hide anything. I told you. My brother looked genuinely puzzled. And besides, there are handrails all over the house, and the wheelchair was right there, wasn't it? I didn't see anything like that. But we even included considerations for my sister during the wedding planning. All I cared about was the dress and the outfit changes. The rest was your responsibility. Wait, what? This is their wedding, isn't it? And besides, you're the one getting married. I couldn't care less about your sister. What? My brother's eyes widened at Emily's utter lack of compassion. Essentially, Emily and her parents hadn't listened to a word my brother said. Desperately trying not to cause trouble for my brother, I opened my mouth. Yes, I'm in a wheelchair, but it doesn't interfere with my daily life. I work full-time and will never be a burden to my brother and his wife. Emily's father snorted. That's a given. I work in healthcare, Anne. I began to explain my job and its relation to my wheelchair, but Emily's father interrupted. That's why I said that you have to leave before you become a nuisance to us. What do you mean? My brother's expression hardened. Well, let's hear it. Sarah, what's your educational background? Not quite understanding where this was going, I answered honestly. I had an accident in middle school and barely managed to graduate. So I didn't attend high school. So, you didn't graduate high school? Ha! I knew it. Emily's parents exaggeratedly sighed. No, I didn't, but since then. As I tried to continue, Emily's father interrupted again. Listen. Our family is made up of doctors who graduated from prestigious universities. Your brother graduated from an elite university and is a highly regarded doctor at a university hospital. That's why we approved of the marriage. Oh, okay. So, you understand now. Leave. I'm sorry, but I still don't understand why I can't attend my brother's wedding reception. What? You still don't get it? Typical of someone who didn't graduate high school. Emily's mother grimaced as she continued. We are an elite family. All our relatives and acquaintances are people of high status, such as doctors or lawyers. Such distinguished guests will be at the reception. I see. Therefore, we don't want someone in a wheelchair, and especially someone who didn't graduate high school, to attend. It's inappropriate. You don't want to embarrass your brother, do you? Neither my brother nor I think being in a wheelchair is shameful. I want to celebrate my brother as his sister. When I said that, Emily's father sneered. You just don't get it. That's what comes from not finishing high school. And then there's that. He jerked his chin at my wheelchair. Why is being in a wheelchair a reason to exclude me? Oh my God, how many times do I have to explain? Our family is made up of doctors. Having a relative in a wheelchair who didn't graduate high school is a disgrace. If you resist, the engagement is off. What? As I was rendered speechless by the word off, Emily's father smirked. Do you want to ruin your brother's marriage? He's going to marry my daughter, work at our clinic, and have a bright future as part of our medical family. I was at a loss for words. I wanted to argue back, but the image of my brother's happy face when he announced his engagement came to mind. I couldn't bear to be the reason his marriage fell apart. Just then, my mother gently placed her hand on mine. She seemed torn between wanting to defend me and considering my brother's position. As I was about to speak with teary-eyed, my brother, who had been silently listening, spoke up. All right, let's go home. Alex. If they're saying all this, we should leave. I apologize for not understanding sooner. Alex. As expected of you, it's a wise decision. Emily's father nodded in satisfaction. I'm really sorry for putting you through this. Let's go home together. Ha! Several voices overlapped in surprise. Together? Of course, with Mom and me. I panicked. But the reception is about to start, right? That's right. You don't need to send them off. I'm not talking about the send-off, I'm leaving too. What? Sarah is my precious sister. I have no intention of joining a family that doesn't accept her. My brother stated firmly. Let's go, Sarah, Mom. Yes. Wait a minute. Don't be ridiculous. Only the sister in the wheelchair needs to leave. That's right. What are you thinking? Wait. In the midst of this back and forth, a commanding voice echoed through the room. It's quite lively here. The wedding reception hasn't started yet. Has it? Everyone turned simultaneously to see who had spoken. What? Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith. The speaker was Dr. Smith, the director of the clinic and the chairman of the medical corporation. There wasn't a medical professional in the state who didn't know him. Congratulations on your daughter's marriage. Thank you. We heard you were delayed by a conference today. Yes, I managed to finish early and rushed over. How honored we are. Indeed. Please, have the seat of honor. As Emily's parents fawned and tried to guide him, Dr. Smith held up a hand to stop them. Before that, there's something I need to confirm. Ha? You were trying to expel this young woman. What's the meaning of that? What? No, actually, we were just saying that she doesn't have to feel embarrassed about being in a wheelchair and force herself to attend. What? I was momentarily dumbfounded by the sheer audacity of this two-faced man in front of me. This young woman would never say she's ashamed of her wheelchair. Ha? Emily's parents made foolish sounds at Dr. Smith's stern rebuke. Sarah, it's been a while, Dr. Smith said. He turned to me with a smile. Yes, it's been a while, I replied. Seeing our familiar interaction, Emily's father turned pale. Dr. Smith, do you know her? Of course. Don't you? She's the groom's sister. Well, yes, of course we do. She's Alex's sister, who didn't graduate high school and is in a wheelchair. Dr. Smith cut him off with a question. Do you know what her job is? Job? Isn't she unemployed? Ha ha ha, you must be joking. What? Not knowing this is disgraceful for a doctor. Especially when she's about to become family. What? Which company makes the wheelchairs your clinic uses? Wheelchairs? Oh, the top company in the industry that Dr. Smith is also involved with. Correct. Then you're aware of the new electric wheelchair being released. Our hospital is set to adopt it. Of course. It's highly acclaimed, and our clinic plans to use it as well. We've even invited Brian, the department head from that company, today. Thinking he had smoothed things over, Emily's father puffed up with pride. Dr. Smith pressed on. She was involved in developing that electric wheelchair. What? Emily's family collectively gaped. Oh, she's going to use the new product, right? They still seemed confused. She's not just a user. Her job involves developing and improving wheelchairs. No way. That's impossible. When she was hospitalized after her accident, it was at my father's hospital. So we've known each other since then. What? Over time, as she worked hard on her rehabilitation, we stayed in touch. When the company needed user input for improvements, I recommended her. Oh, so she just gave feedback on the comfort. Only a wheelchair user can do that. Emily's mother looked down on me and seemed unaware of how ridiculous she sounded. It started that way, but she's incredibly smart and now a part of the development team. The revelation about my work left everyone in shock. What? That can't be. Yes, and excuse me, but this girl didn't even graduate high school. There's no way she could be involved in development with that level of education. Madam, your thinking is as outdated as a fossil. What? Emily's mother turned red with anger as Dr. Smith's words hit home, and I faced her directly. Although I didn't attend high school, I took the GED. What? After that, I studied engineering on my own. Engineering? Meeting Dr. Smith and physical therapists, and helping with wheelchair research, inspired me to study more and contribute. There's no way. Someone who didn't finish high school. My brother stepped in at that moment. My sister has always been more capable than I am. She takes after our father, who was an engineer. That's a lie. If it's true, why didn't you tell us? Dr. Smith, we were deceived. My brother looked at them coolly. I told you about my wheelchair and my work, but you didn't listen. What? I added. When I tried to explain my work earlier, you wouldn't listen. As soon as you saw my wheelchair, you just told me to leave. No. My brother turned to the bride. I'm shocked you didn't listen either. You just said you didn't know. Did I? And even if you just found out today, any normal person would show concern or offer help. Instead, you and your parents demanded she not attend the wedding reception. I'm deeply disappointed. Faced with my brother's harsh criticism, Emily and her parents started arguing among themselves. That's not true. I was just agreeing with Mom and Dad. They were the ones who said awful things to your sister. Hey, what are you saying? I only did what my husband told me to. Wait, Dr. Smith, that's not it. My foolish wife was being vain and told her to leave. I tried to stop her. What? Am I a foolish wife? Enough of this nonsense. My brother's voice cut through their bickering like a sharp knife. I can't watch this anymore. As I said before, I can't become family with people like you. The engagement is off. What? Wait. Are you trying to humiliate me? Yeah, what about the wedding reception? Everyone's already here, and you want to disgrace our family of doctors? You're the ones who told us to leave. I expressed my anger openly. There's no proof of that. It's all in your head. Now, the bride and groom should get ready for the wedding reception. Hey, you. Push her wheelchair. I was almost impressed by Emily's father's audacity but knew I had to state the facts. We have proof. The staff heard everything, and we've been recording today, so it's all on video. What? You've got to be kidding. It's bad enough having a high school dropout in a wheelchair as a relative. But I was willing to tolerate it for today. You should have just kept quiet and obeyed, you little brat. Dad, stop it. Ah. The bride's father realized his mistake and covered his mouth, turning pale. Well. Dr. Smith's eyes glinted sharply. Well, that was just a slip of the tongue. It's too late. And it wasn't just me, everyone here heard it. Convenient, isn't it? Saves us the trouble of explaining. What? Yes. The wedding reception hadn't started, and everyone was already gathered, noticing the commotion between the bride, groom, and their parents. That was natural. The guests were whispering among themselves, cast cold glances our way. Your clinic won't be getting the new electric wheelchairs. Of course, the rental contract will be over. What? Why would you? Brian from the company is right there. Other doctors and guests here also heard you insult Sarah. What? My brother placed his hand on my wheelchair. Let's go home. We don't need to be part of this family. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Smith. I didn't do much, just stated the facts. Wait. Please. Conduct the wedding reception, please. Wait. What about me? What should I do? Ignoring the wailing Emily and her family, I rolled my wheelchair forward. In the end, the wedding reception was cancelled. My brother bowed to the guests and explained the reason. Despite Emily's family's frantic denials, no one believed them with Dr. Smith's testimony. Most of the guests had witnessed our exchange anyway. 3 months later, the Johnson Clinic, Emily's father's clinic, lost the trust of Dr. Smith and his medical colleagues, and severed ties with the company. Emily's father, who had always been arrogant as the eldest son, became even more ostracized by relatives after the wedding incident. The events of that day quickly spread among the reception attendees. Patients stopped trusting a doctor who looked down on wheelchair users, leading to a steady decline in the Johnson Clinic's clientele. Nurses and reception staff also began quitting one after another. It was widely rumored the clinic would close by the end of the year. Emily, now branded with a tarnished reputation thanks to her parents, has become estranged from friends and was often seen partying in the nightlife districts. As for me, I felt guilty about my brother's broken engagement and apologized repeatedly, but my brother remained cheerful. I should be the one apologizing. I hurt you because I couldn't see them for who they really were. But I honestly have no regrets. Plus, now that I'm working at Dr. Smith's clinic, so I've actually taken a step up in my career. His smile was indeed refreshingly clear, showing he had moved on. My brother had left his job at the university hospital because he was supposed to work at his in-laws' clinic after the wedding. Dr. Smith had known this and offered him a position at his clinic. I've heard from my colleagues about your excellent work at the university hospital. There's no issue at all. This news brought great relief and joy, not only to me but also to our mother. As for me, I was invited to join a new project team working on developing not just wheelchairs, but also caregiving robots. With the aging population increasing, there are numerous challenges in both caregiving and the medical field. One of the solutions being developed to address these issues is caregiving robots. Though there are many challenges in development and implementation, these robots are considered essential for America's future. I was truly fortunate to be able to work on something so important for the future. Every experience and encounter with people can significantly shape our lives depending on how we perceive them. When I first became wheelchair-bound, I felt hopeless, and there are moments of frustration even now. But rather than counting what I've lost, I want to find what only I can do and live my life accordingly. If I can use my pain and sorrow to bring smiles to others, that would be the greatest joy. I am me, and you are you. Everyone is a unique and irreplaceable person,